Okay, boys, so we've now translated page 2 of Revenge. We're now going to analyse that. So I've just cut it into 3 bits, and then I'm just going to go through them just to give myself a bit more room, but make sure you're looking at the right bit of the text. So we'll start with the first 2 lines. So we've got firstly highlighted Biduum and Triduum. So we translated these as a period of 2 days and a period of 3 days. So we just need to make a note here on what I mentioned before, which is that the people prosecuting Piso got a day less than Piso did to defend himself. So the suggestion here from Tacitus is that somehow the system is biased against him. So we kind of just feel a sense of injustice, and therefore we kind of feel more anger at Piso because he's been given this extra day. The next thing to comment on is just the vividness of the story. Statuita is a historic present verb. Historic present verb. We've translated it as was allocated. We've translated it in the past because obviously it did happen in the past. So this just makes it feel more vivid. So in the Latin, it says a period of 2 days is allocated. So you feel like it's happening right now. So it's more vivid. Okay. Another thing to comment on, which is just kind of a nice contextual point, is the fact that you've got Tres Amici Germanici. You see the popularity of Germanicus just because Tacitus has used the words three friends. We're reminded of his popularity again. Okay, so that's all on the first 2 lines. So let's have a look at the next 2 lines. Okay, so some of you may be already able to guess what this first literary point is. So audio and studio are both ablatives. Germanici and rerum novarum are both genitives. So that means the pattern here is A, B, B, A. So we've got a nice bit of chiasmus here. So the question is, why is Tacitus using chiasmus at this point? Well, it's because he's drawing out the reason, the 2 reasons, in fact, and the 2 worst reasons for Piso's behaviour, which is firstly that he hated Germanicus, odio Germanici, and also that he wanted some kind of revolution. He wanted to kind of overthrow the current power, which was his studio rerum novarum, his zeal for revolution. So he's drawing our attention to Piso's evil motives. Okay. On the next line, we have firstly got a lot of O sounds. So this is assonance. It's not alliteration because alliteration is of consonants. So this is assonance of O. So you might be wondering why he'd want to repeat the O sound. O is supposed to highlight the horror here. So this is the moment when he's supposed to have killed Germanicus with curses and poison. And you can kind of, well, hopefully if you've got a vivid imagination, you can kind of imagine the people in the court mumbling, making shocked sounds. And so the O kind of highlights that, highlights the horror. Of what Piso's done. Okay, and then perhaps more obviously is the word ipsum Germanicus, himself. We are reminded here that Piso did not just kill anyone, he killed the wonderful Germanicus who everyone loved. So this shows how special Germanicus was, how special and loved Germanicus was, and therefore it's a shock that Piso killed him rather than anyone else. Okay, boys, so that's the second chunk of this page, and then moving on to the final 2 lines. Okay, so firstly, in fact, which I haven't highlighted yet, you can comment on the fact that Plancina is now mentioned. So we're reminded of how unpleasant this situation is, because not only is this Piso who did this, but he even got his wife involved. So we're kind of made to feel like this isn't just Piso, it's this kind of whole family unit who are evil and committed these sins. Okay, the next thing is the word nefandus, which I mentioned previously. So fas, we might have mentioned this before. The word fas in Latin is divine law. So if something is nefas, that means it's against divine law. So immolationis nefandus is like the worst possible sacrifice you could ever make, which makes sense when you consider the fact that his sacrifice was of another human rather than of what you'd expect in a normal sacrifice, like a goat or a sheep or something. So basically the word nefandus is a very dramatic word. And it shows how sinful their crimes were. Okay. Final very simple points are the P's in Petivice Armis Republicam. You might be able to guess this. You might want to describe them as plosive P's. So it's alliteration. And it's so that the reader, it's so that Tacitus, it's so that anyone who's saying this can spit them out, because this is the worst crime, that he'd attacked the state. Okay, so it makes the crime sound even more shocking because we can spit out those words. And then petivice itself is also highlighted because usually you would find an infinitive at the end of a phrase, whereas Tacitus has put it at the beginning. He's put it just after the comma, and that's to draw our attention to it. So it's to draw our attention to the word attacked, because this is the worst crime, this suggestion of treason. So Tacitus has moved the infinitive to the start of the phrase to highlight Piso's attack on the state. So there you go, boys, that's the final little chunk. Hopefully all of those comments will have made sense. If there's anything that doesn't, you can just put a little question mark next to it or highlight it or something like that, and then you can always ask me about it next time I see you. Okay, well done, guys.